Namaskar. And it is really my fortune to welcome you again consecutively on this platform of Gender Equality Summit. And in 2021, we all are talking about new opportunities and new challenges. And especially when we are talking about the women centric challenges and women centric new opportunities, it is going to be really exciting. I hope you all agree with me. So, if you all agree with me, there are some emoticons over there with you. So, you can actually clap, you can show your smileys, and if you have some feedback that you want to write, you have got a chat box over there. So, there you can mention, yes, I'm getting all the smileys right away. Thank you so much. So, friends, when we actually talk about the women part, especially when there is something new comes up as a challenge, women are always ready to take it up. अगर बिल्कुल देसी भाषा में कहूँ तो दूध फटने से वो लोग घबराते हैं जिन्हें उसका पनीर बनाना नहीं आता. But women, like especially if I talk about the women, even on the international standards, everyone knows how to make paneer out of a fata hua doodh, right? So when we talk about this particular threatening situation of COVID, so here now we have got a new threat. So at the same time, it is coming out as a challenge for us. And I think and I hope that all the ladies will come out as a leader, as a champion out of it. That is why in this Gender Equality Summit, we are talking about COVID and new gender equations, adversity to opportunity. So how we can convert this adversity of COVID scenario into an opportunity and to excel further. My dear friends, after COVID, a lot of things has happened, and like this is also one of the reasons that we all are joining together over here on this virtual platform. But when we talk about a virtual platform, it not only gives us the power, but at the same time, it gives us the teaching that every woman is now need to be technology ready. So there are a lot of other aspects also related to this COVID adversity to opportunity part. So let us just initiate this Gender Equality Summit, and please join me in welcoming for the welcome address the Governing Council member of GCNI, Dr.Uddesh Kohli. And I want to see all those clappings over there. Please welcome him.
Thank you. Honorable Union Minister of Women and Child Development and Textiles, Srimati Smriti Zubin Irani ji, Mr. Shashi Shanker, President GES GCN India and Chairman ONGC Group of Companies, Ms. Susan Ferguson, India Country Representative, UN Women, Mrs. Vaishali Sinha, Chair GES 2021 and Founding Chair of Renew Foundation, Ms. Olajobi Makinwa, Chief Intergovernmental Relations and Africa UN Global Compact, Ms. Ashu Suyash, MD and CEO CRISIL, Mr. Thakker, Partner Consulting Deloitte India, and Ms. Shabnam Siddiqui, Executive Director, Global Compact Network India. Dear participants, friends, colleagues, partners, speakers, moderators of various exciting sessions of GES 2021 and members of the media. I welcome you all for your presence here this morning at the 4th Gender Equality Summit, which is very well timed, coming a day after the International Women's Day. Your passion and support are truly a lifeline for us to make it an incredibly happy and progressive International Women's Day, and I would say Women's Year. Gender equality, diversity, and inclusion are hallmarks of a fully evolved humanity.
I think there's a little network issue. Uh, there is a little network issue. Due to that, I think Dr. Kohli. Dr.
Yes,
Kohli, I would request you if you can just switch to low definition because that will give you enough bandwidth to talk to us. Yeah, I request Dr. Kohli if you can hear my voice. I think he has to start it again and log in again. So, so we are just gonna wait for a while for him to start. So in the meanwhile, as he is gonna join us, I would like to invite our next speaker. I will not say only the speaker because she's the one who is gonna give us the summit overview, the overall aspect of this gender equality summit. Because when we are talking about the COVID and its new challenges and how women can take it as an empowering tool, so I think who better can tell it about this than our chair of GCNI GES 2021. Yes, I can see her right over here, and you are looking very beautiful, ma'am, as always. And I know that you are going to speak the same power which we are talking about, because when we talk about this gender equality, it is not just one subject, it is a thought process, and it needs transformation in the society to come up with a new thing. So now I'm handing over to none other than Vaishali Sinha. She is the chair of GCNI Global Gender Equality Summit 2021 and Chief Sustainability Officer, Renew Power, and founding chair of Renew Foundation. So, my dear friends, please clap for her and welcome her for giving the summit overview.
thank you very much. Thank you for that introduction, Honorable Minister, Mr. Shanker, President UNGCNI, all the distinguished guests and friends in the audience. A very good morning and a very late evening for some of you who've joined us. We really appreciate it. It's really a privilege to be able to connect with people globally during these times. So that's been the silver lining. So thank you once again for those who've joined us from the EST time zone here. It is an absolute privilege to welcome all of you to the 4th edition of United Nations Global Compact, India's flagship Gender Equality Summit. Over the last few years, it has been extremely satisfying. As a founding chair till now, the journey has been an extremely satisfying one. And it's really a pleasure to see the engagement grow from strength to strength, to see this event becoming bigger and, more importantly, better. Having said that, I always say we still have a long way to go. I'm really looking forward to this session. I'm really looking forward to the speakers and the wide network of discussions we're going to have on advancing gender equality, which is also a critical SDG 5. I would like to believe that this summit has provided an extremely credible platform for key stakeholders to gather and participate and exchange ideas and come up with solutions and work on these solutions for mainstreaming gender concerns and accelerating the journey towards the empowerment of women. We have also tried to use the summit to showcase and celebrate the good work that is happening, with the hope that it will inspire others and trigger a domino effect for wider impact. This year too, we have, as I said earlier, great speakers. All of you can clearly see that the team has worked very hard on gathering very distinguished speakers and to curate a very interesting session of discussions And I'm really looking forward, and I'm really excited about the summit having had a record high registration. Even though it's been a virtual summit, I think there has been a silver lining because we've been able to reach out to so many more people. So while the circumstances were difficult, but as we always do, we took up these challenges as opportunities. And that is the tagline of the summit as well. I would like to thank our newly appointed ED, who I'm so proud of, Shabnam, and her entire team for tirelessly working to make this event possible with all the energy which is required to make it unique and to get the best today. We also made it very, important for all of us to see that we engaged with men and women to make this session a more engaged one. So, ladies and gentlemen, as you're aware, this year's GES is dedicated to the changing gender equations in a post-pandemic world and how we can work towards gender parity by converting challenges to opportunities. And we have walked the talk by organizing this session, and through the year, through the days, months, and the year, we will make sure that we continue to take action and take these discussions forward to bring about the change we all so want to see. I'm sure you will agree on the relevance and criticality of this topic in current times as nations commence their journey towards a sustainable and resilient recovery in 2021. 2020 was a shock of a year. We saw COVID-19 start off as a health emergency and gradually turn into a global socio-economic crisis. And guess what? Women suffered disproportionately. Globally, programs and initiatives to narrow the gender imbalance were thrown off track, with the repercussions more pronounced in our part of the world, in developing economies, where women at the bottom of the pyramid had to suffer extreme hardships like we've never seen before. I'd like to point out that when we look at leadership, there is a dearth of women leaders. Only 3.7% of NSE 100 CEOs are women. We won't be surprised if this number gets squeezed post-pandemic. We see a serious threat of the momentum of all the work which has been done in the past slacken. We cannot afford this, and we have to prevent that from happening. So let's keep our eyes on the ball, ladies and gentlemen. Together, let's improve the data for the better in the coming days and make sure that we arrest this trend which is beginning to take shape. We want to make sure that all the work we've done in the past continues with the full momentum it deserves. You know, we can never bring about change without taking stock of data, as I mentioned. So let's look at some of the data and trends. Applying the gender lens, we can broadly categorize the pandemic's impact on women into three broad buckets. There was an economic, social, and a health bucket. On the economic front, it is expected that in 2021, there will be 118 women in poverty for every 100 poor men globally. And this ratio could rise from 118 for women to 121 by 2030, with sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia being most affected. So it's time to take stock of these numbers and make sure we have a plan to reverse this. Women have also been worst affected when it comes to layoffs and loss of livelihoods. 40% of all women, all employed women, 510 million women globally work in the hardest hit sectors such as tourism, hospitality, retail, entertainment, compared to only a paltry 35% of men who are employed in this sector. 90% of India's working women are engaged in informal employment, unpaid or irregular work. This data in particular breaks my heart, especially when I look at the disproportionate contribution. Even a 10% increase of engaging women at the workforce can have on our GDP, the number is a large number, which I also, it's $717 million of impact on our economy we can have if we engage only 10% more women. Many workers in these sectors are at risk of a permanent exit from the labor force. Globally, 72% domestic workers lost their jobs, with women constituting 80% of all domestic workers. Women in India spend 297 minutes on unpaid domestic work each day, 245 minutes more than men, who contribute only 52 minutes. Now, I can go on and on with the data, and it's quite clear that the data is not encouraging. And in our 2 days of discussions and deliberations, we will be addressing a lot of these issues. So clearly, as nations press the reset button, women have to be at the heart of recovery strategies, now more than ever before. We need the government. We need the government. We need the businesses. We need the development and the international agencies to work in a collaborative manner to support their rehabilitation via gender-responsive and gender-inclusive policies and programs. There is a need for short-term measures, for immediate relief, medium-term measures, long-term initiatives, a holistic approach. As always, we need the government to lead with direct income support, bringing more women under the umbrella of social security schemes and incentives for women-led enterprises. And both are very important. The government must also look at getting girls back to school by bridging the digital divide and creating smart classrooms. Very critical, these would be the foundations for a robust future for these young women. The corporate sector.
Vaishali, I'm sorry, I'm just interrupting you for a while because Honorable Minister has joined us. So in between, I would like to give a clap for her just to welcome her, my dear friends. You can use your emoticons to give a clap.
No problem. Because, I don't need a clap, but I have Parliament to attend, so I've been waiting for 20 minutes. I don't want to throw up Vaishali.
To you.
No, welcome, ma'am.
My camera and mic off because I wanted to just hear the speakers. Please allow Vaishali.
Welcome, Smriti ji. It's really a pleasure and an honor to have you here with us today. Thank you for joining. I'll just quickly complete and we can move on then. So I just wanted to say that, the government has done an incredible job with respect to giving attention to a women-led development. An Atmanirbhar development for women, and I guess with a lot of Atma Vishwas, which we need our women to show. I'm a firm believer that 50% of the equation lies on our side, where we have to be on a proud for opportunities and do what we can, and not only wait for others to do things for us. So as I said, we'll all work together, the corporate sector, the government, the international development sector, to bring about the change we want to see. We did not need a pandemic to remind us of the importance of bridging this gap. However, now as we embark on rebuilding exercise, it is an excellent opportunity to translate words into action on the ground and press the accelerator for a more gender equal world. Now is the time for radical action to correct long-standing inequities and move towards a resilient and a sustainable future with women at the center of this. As I mentioned, women really make development, growth, holistic, well-rounded, and we really lose economically and in terms of the bottom line if we leave them behind. We must choose to challenge and transform any adversity to opportunity. In the coming days and years, together we all can and we will. I'm excited about the discussions today and tomorrow. I'm confident that the sessions will be insightful and engaging and yield some valuable learnings, which we will take on forward and engage with key stakeholders to bring about the change we want to see. I'm looking forward to a very fruitful 4th edition of the Gender Equality Summit. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Vaishali ji, and it was really insightful. And I must say that you have correctly mentioned that when we say that there is a new thing coming up, we should take it as a challenge, because whenever we say that there is some problem coming up over here, then it feels like a lot of burden. But when we say that we have challenge in front of us, we have got excitement to complete it and to win it. So that was actually very true. And thank you so much, Vishaliji, for such an insightful words. And now I would like to request the President GCNI and Chairman ONGC Group of Companies, Mr. Shashi Shankar, to kindly present the presidential address. May you please welcome him with your round of claps. Of course, the virtual ones.
Namaskar and a very good morning to everyone. Speakers, corporate leaders, and delegates joining from India and overseas, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, let me wish a very happy belated Women's Day to all the women joining this summit. On behalf of Global Compact Network India, it gives me immense pleasure to extend a warm welcome to all of you to this fourth edition of Gender Equality Summit. We are delighted to see a galaxy of women achievers joining this two-day summit to deliberate on a very pertinent theme of COVID and new gender equations, adversity to opportunity. Since the dawn of human civilization, men and women have worked shoulder to shoulder to make our home and society prosperous and peaceful. We all have realized that the role of women at our home has always been more pertinent at the time of any adversity. Let me take the case of COVID-19. The moment some of us got infected by this deadly virus or had any scary symptoms, it was the women at our home who first came forward with their utmost care and concern. As at hospital as well, mostly the female nurses served at the front line, braving the fear of infection. Few women leaders in the world have demonstrated exemplary leadership in controlling the disease in their countries. Many women employees have gone beyond their normal course of duty in the interest of their organization and countries at the time of this adversity. In our company, ONGC, women employees stayed back voluntarily during the lockdown in their remote offshore and onshore work centers for more than 50 days against a normal 14 days and demonstrated unimaginable courage and commitment. It was an opportunity when we men observed with astonishment that during such adversity, the women could also deliver quality equally at professional front as well. As the world recovers from COVID-19 and we are returning to a new normal, we have been given this opportunity to reflect on our actions in order to become more resilient to such shocks. As a fallout of COVID-19 pandemic, it is noticed that the female workforce has been disproportionately impacted. This regressive effect has resulted in more women losing their jobs than men. This has made our efforts towards achieving the target under Sustainable Development Goal number 5, that is to achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls more challenging. On the other hand, COVID-19 has brought many more positive changes for us. Our attitude towards health and hygiene has improved. Our realization towards the contribution of women as homemakers or professional workers have increased manyfold. The accelerated digital revolution catalyzed by COVID-19 has made it easy for many working women to contribute fully from home. They are now much better placed to strive for an equal future from gender perspective. I believe any sustainable recovery from the devastation of COVID-19 must start with giving more focus towards gender equality. No country or society can aim to achieve holistic development or become a just society without the gender justice. We have to try gender stereotypes and promote bullying in all spheres of life. As India chases $5 trillion economy goal, ensuring greater gender equality in all spheres of life, especially corporate sector, is critical for higher productivity and growth. Promoting women as key drivers of growth, monetize the skills of women workforce, will address gender inequality and shall go a long way towards realizing a quicker Atmanirbhar Bharat in the post-COVID-19 recovery phase. In this backdrop, the summit, aligned with the principles of the Sustainable Development Framework, resonates our commitment for exploring various pathways for gender-inclusive outcome in the society. We need to discuss and devise solutions-based strategies which could provide women an equal playing field. In order to achieve this objective, an increased level of partnership and coordinated efforts between the government, the civil society, the academia, and the private sector will be required. I would like to thank all of you for connecting with us on this digital platform to join hands and work toward a global cause. We are living amidst challenging times, and in this unprecedented situation, I hope to gain your support and we shall overcome the biggest of challenges through collaborative efforts. Before I conclude, let me thank you all for all your support, particularly the speakers, partners, sponsors, core committee members, and the Global Compact Network India team. The GCNI is proud to have its first woman executive director, Srimati Shabnam Siddiqui. I congratulate her and wish GCNI much more success under her leadership. Finally, let me wish participants all the very best for a fruitful deliberations. I am sure the summit will turn out to be truly a special one and shall meet its desired objective. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much, sir. And as correctly mentioned, that for this collaborative effort, we have got her blessing and her support. So, my dear friends, here we have Madam Smriti Zubin Irani. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. I am grateful to be included in this discussion which seeks to maximize potentials, resources, and opportunity for women across our country. The fact that when I heard Vaishali especially speaking about the gender digital divide, I'm happy to begin on that note. In the year 2017, a program was unfolded by the Honorable Prime Minister called Disha. This was a program dedicated to digital literacy, especially in rural India. a program which was not gender inclined. However, the facts and figures that I have today will definitely gladden your heart. If you look at the progression of PM Disha since 2017 when it was launched, the fact that today we have over 1 crore 47 lakh women digitally literate and trained under that one program tells us how far we have come. However, it is a reminder for us how far we must yet go. To just elaborate succinctly on 2-3 points. When you come together today, you come together to pay tribute to the potential of women. And how does one bring more support to that potential? At the onset, let me say that when we look at women and their ability to venture and look for new opportunities as professionals, one of their greatest concerns is safety and security. So I must here today highlight that the Honorable Prime Minister victims of violence and abuse, and over 3 lakh women have been directly helped by these 700 one-stop crisis centers. There is an operationalization of help lines across the country. Today, women helplines are operational in 33 states and UTs. And I'm happy to share with you, though should not be buoyant, that over 54 lakh women have been helped only through these helplines that have been a collaboration between the Government of India and state governments. There has been many a times a conversation about using the Nirbhaya Fund, which lied unused in the year 2013-14. I'm happy to share with the August
Sanjay, yeah, I'm on the inaugural screen.
And we can all hear you.
I can't hear anything.
So we can hear the lady who is presenting and having a conversation on the phone. If I may be permitted to continue.
Yes, please continue.
All right. So while there was a cause for concern in the year 2013-14 with regards to the non-utilization of Nirbhaya funds, in the past 6 years, the Government of India has actually reviewed projects worth 7,000 crores and already devoluted over 5,000 crores of rupees under the Nirbhaya Fund to help strengthen state safety and security measures for women across the country. For the first time in the history of our country, in the past 1.5 years, we have given funds to every state to ensure that every district has an anti-trafficking unit. We mapped every district with very high crime rates, and we insisted on ensuring that we give fiscal support for setting up women help desks, not only in those districts, but across all police stations in the country. We have seen that under the aegis of the Nirbhaya Fund, there has been a distribution of over 14,000 sexual assault evidence collection kits so that we can help support our police functions. Additionally, for the first time, a national database of sexual offenders has been made by the Ministry of Home Affairs. And today we have a total of 7 lakh names in that database. My appeal to all Indians who have joined us today on this platform is this. If you are an organization that seeks to hire people who work within the vicinity of women and children, please do a police verification, which will be cross-matched with the national database so that you do not end up hiring somebody who has had a history of violence against women and children. We are committed to ensuring that not only are investigations speeded up, you are aware that legislation now provides, which has been again an initiative of the Modi government, that investigation and trial gets over when it comes to cases of violence against women and children in a particular dedicated time frame. And to expedite the judicial process, the Government of India has fiscally supported the establishment of over 1,023 fast-track courts, which will speedily ensure justice for cases where women have been victims of violence or abuse and children under the POCSO Act. My appeal is that all those stakeholders who have joined us today look at their own states and districts and interact with administration there locally to ask for progress on all these aspects which have been supported under the Nirbhaya Fund. The fact that cyber forensic labs have been set up for training in 9 states gives us a solace. Our effort is to ensure that it spreads across all states. The fact that we have an investigation tracking system for sexual offenses, which is an analytical tool which looks at how, at what stage investigation has met with some kind of an impediment or some kind of a challenge, so that police organizations across the country can coordinate better to complete investigations. That being said, there have been many steps taken with regards to social empowerment. And I'm again referring to Vaishali because she spoke about the need to make it more gender neutral when it comes to socially and through legislation empowering women. For the first time in our country, we are ensuring, and the Prime Minister in fact led this, a law to declare triple talaq as void and illegal. Women now are no longer banned to go to Hajj without a male companion. Again, if you look at how do you empower women, you need to recognize that women, when they have ownership in properties, have a better, safe environment. And in the 137 lakh homes that have been sanctioned under the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, we have seen there is joint custody given of that property. In fact, there are 36 lakh houses which have been sanctioned only in the name of female beneficiaries. Education, and Vaishali, again, I'm referring to you. Education is something that you said is the pivot on which a lot of change we will see come forth. And since the year 2014 up to, let's say, 18, we have seen that there have been around 1.20 lakh girls who have benefited from the National Curriculum Framework. But what gives me immense joy is the fact that the National Education Policy has now a special gender inclusion fund. We all know that though up to class 8, we have sustained efforts to make sure girls stay back at home, stay back in school. One of our greatest challenges was the dropout once girls start menstruating. And the Prime Minister, in fact, have ensured that in the first year of him being in office from 2014 onwards to 15, we took up on a very, very, how do I say this? Literally a battle formation happened between the center and the state with regards to building of toilets across all government schools. We had over 4 lakh toilets built, which is never done before, especially dedicated to girls who go to school and who are in need of that support. But again, it was unusual for a male prime minister to stand from the ramparts of the Red Fort and talk about the 1 rupee sanitary plan. Now, in the over 7,500 Jan Aushadhi Kendras that have been established, we today have 40 medical either devices or, for that matter, pharmaceutical options, specially dedicated to women's needs. And when we speak about the pad, you'd be happy to know that my last data that I have available, 11 crore 18 lakh pads were sold only out of these Jan Aushadhi Kendras. Means the Prime Minister has raised a conscientiousness about menstrual hygiene. In fact, not many know that he is the first Prime Minister in the history of our country that established administratively a menstrual hygiene protocol, never done before. And those are the steps which give you hope that this is a government that is not only looking at fiscal societal support, but also dedicated to changing the narrative of how women are perceived. A government which says, under the leadership of the Prime Minister, that let's move only from women development to women-led development. The presumption that women are waiting for handouts needs to be negated. There has to be an affirmation that women can lead change, not only for themselves, but men as well, society at large, and can become the economic harbingers of change. That being said, when we talk about economics today, as has been much celebrated and known, for the first time, 220 million Indian women had access to a bank account under the Jan Dhan Yojana. In the pandemic, we saw a transfer of over 309 billion Indian rupees into those bank accounts. In the pandemic, in fact, I'm happy to say that we had women at the forefront who did not seek acknowledgement, who did not seek glory, but at the forefront of COVID warriors, we had 6 million women, 500,000 female doctors, 3 million plus Indian female nurses, million plus ASHA workers, 1.4 million Anganwadi workers. These are the women who are at the forefront of saving lives, not only in hospitals, but also doing door-to-door delivery of ration, door-to-door survey of the pandemic. And I think today, as I come to a close of my comments, it is those women as well that we pay a big tribute to. Women who have found 33% reservation in police force, women who have found a permanent commission in the army. I will say that the change has truly just begun.
That's actually true, ma'am. And I think when beginning is there, so हम एक बहुत अच्छा अंजाम भी वहाँ पर देखने वाले. That was really wonderful, ma'am. The way you have mentioned, especially about the Prime Minister of India, a man speaking about a woman. So I always say that this is not the time that only she should stand for her. It is the time now that he should stand for her. And that's a true example what Honorable Prime Minister is doing. So thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us in this Gender Equality Summit. So, my dear friends, and now we are moving on to the next step of this Gender Equality Summit, and which comes to as the theme address. Because when we talk about the Gender Equality Summit, and we are taking up a particular subject, because we are talking about COVID, we are talking about new gender equations, and especially converting adversity into opportunity. So, for that, my dear friends, we have got over here our partner, Deloitte India, and please join me in welcoming Mr. Thakker for presenting this theme address. My dear friends, especially with your virtual class.
Thank you, Shilpa. And, good morning, everyone, fellow speakers, and all the participants. I take special pride in representing Deloitte here this morning. We have had the privilege to be part of the UN Gcni Gender Equality Summit from its inception and initial days rather, and delighted to support the summit as a knowledge partner. I think as Ms. Sinha mentioned earlier, the COVID crisis impacted women in three ways, right? If you think about the economic impact, the social impact, and the health impact. I think we heard her say that a large proportion of domestic workers, are women, and they've been impacted. Globally, I think there's a recent UN report that suggests that 750 odd million women are employed in the unorganized sector, and 60% of them, experienced lower incomes through the crisis or through the last few months. This is not just limited to India or developing countries. Even there's a study that was published in The Economist just yesterday, which said that female labor force participation in the US also came down, I think, by 7%, and it's had a disproportionate impact on women compared to men. India has had an interesting growth because even as our economy has grown, the female labor force participation in India is down to 11% and dropping. Some of that is because of lack of support structure, nuclearization of families, but also just the limitations around the fact that there just isn't enough childcare and other support available that we have, right? And some of that has actually unfortunately been exacerbated through the crisis. From a social perspective, we've had challenges where we've had girls that have unfortunately been out of schools. There's been an increase in domestic violence, increase in unpaid care and domestic work, reversal in levels of agencies and social mobility. From a health perspective, midday meals in many schools represent probably one of the best sources of nutrition for many girls in the country. And with schools that had to be shut down to contain the pandemic, that's been somewhat limited. Similarly, access to healthcare services, menstrual hygiene, accessing family control methods have all unfortunately been impacted. Coming from that impact last few months, and we heard the Honorable Minister talk about how women have led from the front in caring in from a healthcare perspective, frontline workers, and that's been such a tremendous sacrifice that we've seen. But it's not just all doom and gloom, right? This is almost an opportunity for us to say, how can we reverse some of the advances that we had made in balancing, equality, but also possibly make further strides. And that's what our report seeks to address, to build a roadmap towards, not just greater gender equality, but by bringing in specific initiatives, be it digital and technology driven, that can enable women to recover and thrive further in a post-COVID world. And these solutions are not just it's not just something that happens in isolation. It's something that will need close collaboration between companies, the society, the government, as well as the NGO community, so that we come together, to support. And I think again the minister mentioned women-led change, and we are seeing some of that come through, in the Deloitte world itself. Our own efforts and our own initiatives globally seek to make a big impact here. We have an initiative called the World Class, which aims to impact 50 million lives globally. For India, the target there is 10 million lives, but it's not just everyone. It's actually very specifically focused on women and girls, and this is through education, skills development, and providing additional access to opportunities. So we are very proud to be associated with this, and are keen to make sure that there is a tangible impact on the ground that we make. We have a bunch of other initiatives. There is a many of you may have read this concept called the butterfly effect, right? Which are small, seemingly small steps that can make for big change. Our own interpretation of that in this context is to look for and to propagate small acts of allyship and sponsorship to improve mentoring in order to achieve extraordinary results. And I'm a firm believer that it is we all need to come together to improve and provide additional access to opportunities. And it's going to be little steps. There'll be setbacks like we had through COVID, but I believe we can all come together and make a big difference. In fact, one silver lining through the crisis was additional focus on work from home, and work from home is something that from a consulting perspective, I can maybe reflect on our own experience, where it's been a balance between a desire to be in front of our clients, working closely with them, and in balancing through the crisis how we've been able to achieve some of this being remote, and that in fact has actually made our ability to get women to clients and opportunities that traditionally they would decline because they'd be in a different city, etc. But it's actually enabled additional opportunities to come to all our staff, including women. And I think it's a great example of something that is technology driven. And I believe there is a lot more that we can do as we go along. But I'm really delighted that all of us have come together here for the conference, and look forward to hearing from other speakers as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. It was really insightful from your side. Thanks a lot. And now, my dear friends, we'll be moving on to our special address. And that special address is from the lady who is the UN Women India country representative. So she is Susan Ferguson, and I would like to invite her. Yeah, she's here in front of me on the screen. So welcome, ma'am. And
Thank you.
a very good morning to you. And in this beautiful session of Gender Equality Summit, I hope we are going to have a lot of thoughtful and insightful things from your side as well, which is going to help not only the countries, but the society and the human beings to come forward and make the whole world a better place to live in and to have a better association among themselves. So, my dear friends, virtual claps for Madam Suzanne Ferguson. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sawani. Honourable Union Minister of Women and Child Development and Textiles, Ms. Smriti Irani, distinguished delegates, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you all. I'm very delighted to be a part of this annual Gender Equality Summit that focuses on honouring achievements and driving actions towards a gender equal world. I also wish to send my greetings from our Executive Director from UN Women in our headquarters, who was unable to make it today, so I'm speaking on her behalf. I would like to express my continued gratitude for the invaluable partnership between UN Women and the Global Compact Network India. I'd really like to acknowledge Ms. Shabnam Siddiqui and Ms. Vaishali Sinha, who are, I know, able stewards and partners leading the compact. So despite the unprecedented challenges that we've all faced and that have been outlined in previous speakers' words, it's time also to celebrate really the sheer indomitable spirit of billions of women, also men and young people in this incredible country, who in their own ways are building back and building back better already, even as the crisis continues. The pandemic has not only been a challenge, as others have said, for health and economic systems, but also for the human spirit, as so many have had to bear so many burdens and so much loss. And had it not been for millions of women health professionals throughout the globe and in India, as the Honourable Minister has already outlined, who were at the front line of the pandemic and still are, we would have been at a very different place. You know, many of these women have risked their lives on a daily basis to support and care for others. Over 20,000 women's self-help groups in the rural communities of India, for example, produced over 19 million masks to eliminate shortages. Many women-led businesses in the health and garment sectors seized the opportunity to diversify into new products and markets, such as making PPEs, hygiene products, and thereby contributing significantly to the response and recovering process, and also keeping their families afloat in this crisis. And the Minister again has mentioned many of the grassroots workers in India, the Angawari and Ashu women, who have also been integral to the response. Last year, UN Women and the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology launched a Shri Shakti Challenge for women entrepreneurs to propose technological solutions to combat COVID-19 related issues. And this is one example of innovation in the midst of this crisis. We received over 1,200 responses from this with excellent innovative ideas, and many of those are already being taken forward. It shows that when women are given an opportunity, they can certainly rise to the challenge. As a critical benchmark in India's fight against COVID-19, other examples of women's leadership in this crisis, we know that a female virologist developed India's first C virus testing kit in only 6 weeks. Indian women are also supporting various research studies on COVID-19 vaccines across the country and the world. Some of the countries that became COVID-19 free early on were led by women, leading some to suggest that there were some special leadership qualities in some of these women leaders that enabled their countries increased protection. We don't know if that's true, and whatever the truth of this, women's participation and inclusion has certainly made the humanitarian response more effective and accelerated the socio-economic recovery. All of these are achievements that really need to be recognised, applauded and celebrated, especially around International Women's Day, which it is the season of celebrating women's leadership. At the same time, women's disadvantage in labour markets has made them more vulnerable to the economic fallout of the pandemic, as Vaishali has also said, including through layoffs and loss of livelihoods. UN Women's research shows that in 2021 alone, 47 million women and girls could be pushed into extreme poverty as a result of COVID-19, bringing the total in global poverty to 435 million. So therefore, we know that some of the gains over the last era of economic prosperity have already been reversed. The pandemic and its unfortunately extremely necessary preventative measures, such as lockdowns, are driving a disproportionate increase in women's unemployment compared to men, decreasing their overall paid working as they're dealing with an aggravated care burden at home due to homeschooling, for instance, or looking after elderly family members. And as has also been mentioned by the Minister, a dangerous surge in cases of domestic violence is being reported as people share confined spaces together for long periods of time in a very stressful time also. If we were to learn from history, we know that the impact of quarantines and lockdowns are far from gender neutral. After Ebola, while men's economic activity returned to pre-crisis levels shortly after travel and prevention measures subsided, the effect on women's economic security lasted much longer. The analysis from Centre for Monitoring Indian Economy points towards a similar trend, unfortunately. Women have suffered a much higher unemployment rate of 17% compared to 6% for men because of the pandemic. And that's often because many women are employed in the informal, less protected sectors. By November last year, men had regained most of the jobs they lost during the lockdown, but women had not. Both the effects of the pandemic and the post-COVID scenario have not been equal for men and women. It will be crucial, therefore, for us to ensure that economic recovery does not leave women behind. To this end, I acknowledge the Indian government for their initiative, the Atmanirbhar Bharat, the stimulus package for both men and women, and also some of the areas, again, that the Honourable Minister talked about around safety and security of women and accessing services and support. As we build back, we now have an opportunity and a responsibility for accelerated positive action to redress long-standing inequalities in multiple areas of women's lives. Although it's been a disaster, it's also now an opportunity to address some of the long-standing inequalities that women face. It is in the interests of not only women and girls, but also boys and men and entire countries, that we ensure that 50% of the talent in the globe has a chance to contribute and benefit from economic development as we build back. While there are notable exceptions, though, in most countries, there's simply not the critical mass of women in decision-making and leadership positions to ensure that women's interests are tabled and dealt with effectively. And this has affected the pace of change for women overall over many decades. This is not a new issue. Yet women persist and continue to prove that when they lead, they bring transformative changes to entire communities and the world at large. We need systematic, coordinated and transformative effort from all of us to convert this adversity into opportunity and build back better. Women must be the co-architects as well as the co-beneficiaries of efforts to build back stronger and better societies. And we must collectively acknowledge that achieving gender equality demands political and financial investment. Someone might need to mute.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am.
So this Building Back Better, it really demands collective action, collective effort from all of us. That's government, the private sector, the engine of growth, civil society, making clear what the needs and interests are and what would help, development partners, men and women, all. It really needs action on individual levels with the stimulus packages and social protection packages, as well as on macro levels, and that's the policies and the legal frameworks that protect countries from disaster. It needs, capacity building of individuals through to, as I said, these macro endeavours to lift people back out of poverty and let others join them. We need women's representation that reflects all women and girls in all their diversities and abilities and across all cultural, social, economic and political situations. We cannot afford to leave people out at this time. We need to reorient the economy to be at the service of achieving economic and social rights for all. And this would also help us, of course, in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. We only have 10 years left for this. Today's consultations of the global network, Global Compact Network, really mark another start of a vital and energetic collaborative process that will help bring our collective vision to life and make 2021 a turning point for gender equality. Thank you so much for having me here today, and I wish you all the best with your deliberations. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thanks a lot. And you have correctly mentioned that, whenever there is something that you want to achieve, so for that, when we are talking about the collaborative efforts, I think it works because no one is stronger than all of us. And this is the truth that we need to understand. And my dear friends, I really take this pleasure to share with you that when we are talking about the collaborative effort now, we have in collaboration, or we can say the partnering with the Deloitte India, GCNI has come up with a report on COVID and new gender equations, respond, recover, and thrive. For that, I would like to request three personalities to come over here on the stage. I would say the virtual stage for the launch. I would like to request the President GCNI and Chairman ONGC Group of Companies, Shri Shashi Shanker, Chair GCNI Global Gender Equality Summit 2021, Srimati Vaishali Sinha, and the partner of Deloitte India, Mr. Thakker. So all of them over here on the stage, and now we are going to launch this report, and this is going to be, I can say, the image, the point of our summit. So here, the launch of the report. Yeah, we all can give a thumbs up for that. Yeah, wonderful. I can clap for all of you. And my dear friends, let me please also share with you that with the launch, you are going to have the link of the report in your chat box. So from there, you can just go to that report and you can have a view over there. So once again, I would like to tell you that this is a report that GCNI and Deloitte India has come up with together. And this report is on COVID and new gender equations, respond, recover, thrive. So this is going to be really exciting to learn about this. So I would like to request you can explore the horizons towards this report in your chat box where we have mentioned the link to that report. So I hope you all can get that link of the report. I would also request now I think
Hello?
all of you have got that link. in the
Hello.
chat box of the report. So thank you
good
so much
morning,
for this
everyone.
launch,
Can you
and we
hear me?
all are going to be benefited with this report. And now, my dear friends, we are moving on to the keynote address, and that keynote address is going to be presented by the MD and CEO of CRISIL. Yes, we are going to welcome Miss Ashu Suyash. So with your round of claps, virtually सही, लेकिन clap करके हम हौसला अफजाई तो कर ही सकते हैं. Please welcome her. Yeah, she's just joining us.
Hello.
We can hear you.
Can you
Ashu.
hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. My apologies for the slight technical glitch.
Ma'am, a lot of
I am
claps are
truly
coming for you.
delighted and excited to join the forum today. I hope all of you are doing well and staying safe amidst this unprecedented pandemic that has shackled us for over a year now. There have been great insights with all the speakers earlier have shared. GCNI has been doing such a great job, especially on areas such
Ms.
as
Ashu
human
Suyash,
rights
the
and
MD
women
and CEO
empowerment.
of CRISIL.
Godspeed to these noble
She's joining
persons.
us from
Today's
Mumbai
topic,
with us.
COVID and new gender equations, adversity to opportunity, is very apt. I will first talk about gender equations arising out of the pandemic. I'm reminded of a very famous quote by Michelle Obama. She says, "There is no limit to what we as women can accomplish." Unfortunately, after decades of
going on over
progress,
there.
the pandemic has not only limited growth, but taken away some hard-won gains of women's progress. Gender and economic inequalities are widening again. By 2021, it is estimated that about 435 million women and girls will be living on less than $2 a day. 47 million will be pushed back into poverty because of lack of employment opportunities and formal economic support measures. Women, who comprise nearly 40% of the global workforce, have accounted over 54% of the job losses in May 2020. According to the Global Gender Gap Report 2020, it will take another 100 years to achieve gender equality based on the current rate of progress. This is really shocking, and the world must change. Situations that had begun to improve, unfortunately, have taken a U-turn. The pandemic has meant that women's responsibilities at home have grown manifold. Closure of daycare facilities, schools moving to learning from home through the internet, work going online has meant that there is competing forces for online capabilities, that's competing time on the woman's needs. This has actually been very, very harsh, and several women have opted to either shift out of the workforce itself or move to part-time. There is clear danger of losing some of the hard-won gains, therefore. It is so important that strong focus be put on this particular issue. Even when I think about the number of safety measures that corporate India and even policymakers had put in place to ensure protection of women at their workplace, during this time, a number of very disturbing news has come through on domestic violence. This once again has contributed and come in the way of women working and pushed a lot of them out of the workforce. A woman's journey, as we all know, is replete with several stumbling blocks. It is about overcoming stereotypes, the congenital risk aversion that women face. It's something that is very inherent in a woman's psyche. The lack of support or network, and the widening gap from a funding access point of view. The task at hand is loud and clear. We need to double our efforts, and this is where we need to convert the current adversity to opportunity for women. The power of women is known from the Vedic times. The Vedas refer to the women as a mighty river that breaks down even rocks and hills. The pandemic, therefore, cannot be a showstopper. There are innumerable examples that I have encountered where women have really risen to the challenge. I know of all the women in families in some of the urban locations that have started cooking meals and delivering them to senior citizens and charging for their services. I know of another small entrepreneur that set up a simple company called Family & Co., where they made batter and have supplied to families all over Mumbai. We know of several rural women who have contributed to fast-tracking the production of masks and PPE kits, and therefore coming to the rescue of not just the frontline health workers, but the world at large. So if this is how women have stepped up in the need of the hour, this is the time when policy framework has to be stepped up to support women entrepreneurs. We need robust implementation of policies. We need to support awareness. We need to bring about a mindset change, and more importantly, provide access to funding. Some of the entrepreneurs who had started really growing because many families were buying from them when they were working from home, as they've moved back to office, their businesses have been shut. And without the financial wherewithal, they haven't been able to scale up. So what can corporate India and the government do to really help convert this adversity to opportunity? I see 7 targeted interventions. 1, it's important to boost the female labor participation rate. And for this, there has to be a joint effort between the private sector and the government to really look at building skilling and training institutes, creating infrastructure, investing and helping daycare centers to reopen again. In January 2019, S&P Global had launched a campaign, #ChangePays. This was a simple way of kicking off awareness on the benefits of greater participation of women in the workforce. This really took pace, and in the US, helped move the needle, albeit in small steps. There is ample research that points to the fact that if we were able to double the participation of women in the workforce, we can double global GDP growth. At the time when GDP growth has suffered so much, and we have seen huge contraction during the pandemic, and everywhere we are talking of not getting back to the pre-pandemic levels in a hurry, getting women into the labor force can really bring back growth faster. So this is something that all of us, corporate India and the government, needs to invest in. We need to double down on making workplaces safer. I think at this point, investing in the mental well-being of women is very important, because that has taken a beating during the pandemic. We need to ensure that maternity benefits are not just done to the bare minimum, which the government mandates, but for corporates to come forth and actually provide better benefits, especially as women come back to work after their maternity leave. They need to support them through perhaps part-time working, through flexi hours, or even allow them to continue to work from home. There is a great example of Microsoft that offered pandemic school closure leave to working mothers. And this really helped women to stay with them, and they did not see such a sharp drop-off. We see very little participation of women in the field of science and technology. We need many more doctors, healthcare workers, scientists, and engineers. And hence, another data point on why skilling of our women force is very, very important, because these investments will contribute immensely to our will contribute immensely to growth. It is also important for women to sponsor women in organizations. When women leaders take up the baton, we begin to see more women move up the chain and flourish. Because often it's not only about the hard measures, but bringing about that mindset change, which is very important. When we see a leaky pipeline, we need to understand what's causing this. Is it a tough manager? Is it the extra long work hours? And that's the time to step in and make sure that women can be supported. At CRISIL, we've taken a number of measures to ensure that we employ more women, and we also retain the women that we hire. Because of this consciousness, and it starts at my level, at CRISIL, women account for 37% of our workforce versus the 30% average for India. Right at the board level, we have much stronger women participation of about 35%, while most of corporate India is far lower. We have a number of programs which I think can serve as a playbook for a number of companies. We offer appraisal or rating protection so that when women are away on leave, their managers don't dock them for going away for this very, very important life event. We also have a comprehensive support program where managers stay in touch, as well as our human resource organizations stay in touch while working mothers are at home post-maternity. We have a mentoring and skilling program that allows working mothers, when they come back, to begin to get assimilated in the workforce, because the time out sometimes does not get them to become in tune quickly. We have a program where when women take a break and we stay in touch, we see how we can hire them back. And this is about bringing our women alumni where, due to pressing circumstances, had to move away. Another and very important thing, because we often focus on programs for urban India, it's about looking at rural India where the pain is the most. A good example how CRISIL has helped is through our foundation, our CSR work, where we focus on women empowerment. And we have been able to benefit over 3 lakh women over the last 2 or 3 years through our flagship program, Main Pragati. And this allows for last mile connect and building financial literacy. And through this program, we've enabled a number of women to actually seek some form of livelihood, working either with what the family work is, or to take up things like weaving. In fact, we've built a cadre of friends of women, or sakhis as we call them, which then go out and empower other women to participate in a lot of the financial programs. In fact, a lot of the good work that the government has done is not very well known in the villages. So these sakhis help women become aware of these programs, and they charge a small fee. And this, during the pandemic, has helped women partake in some of the insurance schemes, in coming to know of the free grain that is offered. So families have benefited, and the Sakhis have been able to retain their financial empowerment as well. One other very critical thing, which I think will go a long way in supporting women as entrepreneurs, especially at the micro level, is a special funding program for women entrepreneurs. And this is where I think policy makers and regulators can step in with a program that goes beyond the traditional micro lending programs that are already in place, because at this time we see that these programs are not really taking off in a big way. As I close, I want to talk about the Choose to Challenge theme of the International Women's Day. I believe it is very apt because women know how to challenge all the time. They're constantly facing challenges at home and work and have the intrinsic strength. Time has come to really make this challenge inclusive, to get men as advocates and to join this campaign. And this will go a long way in bringing about the holistic change and convert the current adverse situation to an opportunity and get many more women back at work, many new women taking up work, which will allow the world to become a safer and a more inclusive place. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. And I once again laud the efforts of the UN on human rights, and especially taking up the baton of women empowerment. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. You have actually pointed out really those things that we have been waiting to. And yes, I can see the lady next to me now, the Olajobi Makinwa. Welcome, ma'am. And my dear friends, before I ask her to initiate her address, I would like to share with you that last time when I met her during one of the development of a movie, she said about, like, when we talk about the anti-corruption measure, she mentioned that when private businesses are a part of the problem, they should be the part of the solution as well. So today, the same thing I would say about the gender equality. When we all are the part of the problem, so we should be the part of the solution as well. So my dear friends, now I am presenting to you the lady. Ma'am, firstly, so thank you so much for staying up so late to join us over here. My dear friends, please welcome Chief International Governmental Relations and African UN Global Compact, Ms. Olajobi Makinwa. Welcome, ma'am, with the virtual claps.
Thank you very much indeed. Please, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Thank you very much for the generous introduction. Honorable Minister, distinguished speakers, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to join you for the 4th Annual Gender Equality Summit with the theme COVID-19 and New Gender Equations. We have a lot to reflect on. Over a year ago, as we've heard times and times over today, the COVID-19 pandemic took hold of the world, knowing no boundaries. It disproportionately impacted women and girls, highlighting and exacerbating existing gender inequalities. For example, 40% of all employed women work in industries hardest hit by COVID-19, such as food service, retail, and entertainment. We've heard that today. Women step back from the workplace, in part or fully, to care for children, the elderly, and the sick. Women business owners, especially those operating in the informal sector, are particularly vulnerable to the economic downturn brought on by COVID-19. Before the pandemic, women spent approximately 3 times as many hours on unpaid domestic and care work than men globally. In India, it was reported that men did initially step in to assist with chores and domestic work when the lockdowns were first imposed. However, their share of unpaid care work declined over time, requiring women to take on even heavier loads. As schools closed, many girls missed out on learning opportunities due to the digital gender divide. But these challenges are not new. The pandemic has simply highlighted and exacerbated the inequalities that plague our workplaces, our homes, our economies, and our communities. This is a wake-up call for all of us to take bold action to tackle the unequal distribution of unpaid care work, stop accepting violence and harassment against women at home and at work. In addition, it is critical that we recognize the value of women's leadership every day and ensure that women are included at the decision-making table. Increasing women's leadership and representation in business change. Along with violence against women, leadership is a priority theme of the 65th session of the Commission on the Status of Women, and the focus of the UN Global Compact's Target Gender Equality The COVID-19 has created an opportunity for us to take concrete action against gender inequality, to reset so that we can recover better and together. With our resilient spirit, we can transform adversity to opportunity. The good news is that corporate support for gender equality has increased significantly in recent years. More than 4,500 business leaders have committed to the Women's Empowerment Principles, UN Global Compact's joint initiative with UN Women. Yet there is a gap between commitment, action, and impact that must be addressed. Earlier this year at the UN Global Compact, we unveiled a new strategy. Gender equality is front and center of our new strategy. With our local networks, especially the one in India, we support, we guide, and connect business to achieve tangible outcomes for gender equality, gender parity, and sustainable development. We are committed to working with business, government, civil society, and our UN partners to achieve measurable outcomes paved the way for women empowerment in India and across the world. And please excuse my pronunciation, but I want to acknowledge these women in science: Soumya Yadav; in business, Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw and Indira Nooyi; in sport, Mithali Raj; in economics, women like Geeta Gopinath. I acknowledge them today and I salute their courage. And here at the Global Compact Network India, just last week, we received news of the appointment of Mr. Shabnam Siddique as Executive Director of the Global Compact Network India. I cannot think of a more capable and dedicated woman to lead the organization. These women have broken the glass ceiling in women leadership and achievements at the highest levels and are inspiring and lifting women and girls everywhere. I wish everyone a happy International Women's Day, especially the indefatigable female colleagues at the Global Compact Network India. I thank you again for inviting me to be part of this milestone event, and I wish you success as you continue to deliberate. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was really insightful, and the points that you have touched upon are really the ones that we all need to look forward to work together on it. So thank you so much for this wonderful address. And now, my dear friends, we have reached to this stage where now I would like to invite on the Executive Director of GCNI. For the vote of thanks, she'll be presenting the vote of thanks, and along with that, hopefully she'll be touching all the points that the speakers have come up with. So, my dear friends, please welcome Ms. Shabnam Siddiqui.
Thank you so much, Shilpa. I would have touched on the speaker's points, but knowing the fact, acknowledging that we are already delayed by 15 minutes and we need to start the next session, I did a shortcut. I also thank the partners in the chat box, but I will also repeat that especially for us, it has been, this is the 4th Gender Equality Summit. Year on year, we have progressed, especially because of a very dedicated team of core committee members led by our GES chair, Ms. Vaishali Sinha. So it's been tremendous, the leadership, the support that we have got. And because of them, for the first time, it was our honor and privilege to have the Minister of Textiles and Women and Child Development honor us with her presence. And not only honor us, but she stayed along for quite a bit, listening to the speakers, for being engaged and for being before time. So thanks a lot to the Minister and her entire team. Thanks also to our mentors, the President Global Compact Network India, under whose leadership we are breaking new boundaries. We have the unequivocal support of ONGC, and the President ensures that whatever we want, whatever we envision, that gets implemented. So big thanks to him. A big thank you to Dr.Uddesh Kohli, who's been a mentor and guide, who's been involved with the Global Compact for 2 decades. So it's been a tremendous journey with him. Thanks also to Deloitte as a natural knowledge partner, and especially to Viral for outlining Deloitte's commitment to gender equality. In fact, while he was speaking, I got requests from some people to connect him with Viral and his team, which we'll do after the session. And also thanks to both my superwomen, Susan Ferguson, the UN Women Country Representative, who joined us from New Zealand, and Olajobi Makinwa, who joined us from New York. So just in this inaugural session, we, I think, completely looked out to the entire horizon. So that has been tremendous. And of course, to our keynote speaker, Ms. Ashu Suyash, I've never personally heard a more grounded MD talking about actual work. So it was tremendous to hear her. We hope CRISIL will come on board as a member. And once again, thanks to our partners, title partner, Renew Power, gold partner, IOCL, corporate contributors, Zensa, Salesforce, JSPL, B School partner, BIMTech, university partner, Vijay Bhumi University, host portal, Sustainiverse, without whom this entire event would not have been possible. Technology partner, Social Ladder, knowledge partner, Deloitte, Swatch Ambassador, Aquacraft, media partner, Dainik Bhaskar, Business View magazine. Dainik Bhaskar has given us great support and backing, both in terms of interviews and ads in their newspaper. Digital media partner, She the People TV, sustainability partner, SDG Chopal, magazine partner, CSR Times, and outreach partner, Power Talk with Archana. And once again, before we close this inaugural session, since speakers in the other session are already waiting, a big thank you to Ms. Vaishali Sinha, whom you have heard speak earlier. She is the light behind this entire guidance and advisory right from the start, right from the time 4 years ago when we started envisaging about this, and especially to Mr. Kamal, the late Kamal Singh, we call him Kamal sir, for thinking of this entire thing, for creating a team and ensuring that we take the gender equality agenda ahead. My team, of course, as I mentioned in my chat box, they have every idea that we were challenged with, they have taken up. And the team is not only Global Compact, but the team of Sustainiverse, the team of Vaishali, Jitendra, Dipankar, everybody else. It's a big team, so we'll be seeing them again and again. Thank you so very much, everyone. Please, I think we need to move quickly to plenary one. Shilpa, over to you.
Sure, ma'am.
Thanks, Shabnam. I just wanted to say thank you, Superwoman, Super Team, Supermen, everybody put together. Well done.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, ma'am. And now I would like to tell you, my dear friends, that we have to switch on to the next session. For that, you need to go back to the reception area and you need to join the Entrepreneur Session 1. So I'm also going to do that right away. We are meeting you again.